give me a ha. Do that. Yeah. All right. I talk about stress, just so you know. All right. We all need to do that. We need to remember to breathe. So put your own oxygen mask on first. Do you put your own oxygen mask on first? We hear it all the time. We hear it when we get onto a flight. We also hear it in society as an analogy. Some of you even might roll your eyes at it. But the fact is, how many of us actually do it? Let's take it literal for a second. You got a child struggling next to you. How many people would be tempted to put their mask on first? Right? It's a difficult situation. But then we'll take it metaphorically. You're hungry as a horse. You know, good metaphor there, right? And you just cooked a meal for your family. Everybody's eating. You finally put the last of the meal on your plate. How many of you would feel tempted if one of your members said, I'm still hungry? Would you slide that plate over and go without? We do this all the time. We are emotionally tempted to help others out. But here's the problem. We think that being kind and helpful is a sacrifice. We were told it's a difficult sacrifice to be kind to others. And I'm here to clear up any misunderstandings today, right? I know that's tempting. You want to help, but you are not selfish when you are practicing self-care, all right? You need to remember to put on that oxygen mask first, okay? So we hear about stress all the time, and burnout is a big buzzword nowadays. We hear it everywhere. Oh, burnout, burnout, burnout. Well, how do we get to burnout? We get to burnout because we are not tackling the stress that we are faced with every single day. We push it down, and then it finally combusts on us, and we are lost. All right? Burnout is definitely not the place that you want to get to. I know a lot of us feel this way. All right? Stress is supposed to be a good thing. It was put into us so we could get that adrenaline and we could become fearless. So we could become unstoppable. But what happens is we are so subjected to it every single day that we end up becoming overwhelmed and afraid. All right? And that's the fact. If you are not taking care of yourself, if you are going without, you're going to become overwhelmed. How many people have, skipped the shower to make breakfast for somebody else? How many of you have worked through lunch because you're trying to help out a coworker or your boss? All right? These things will lead to feeling underappreciated. You will lead to anger. You will become disgruntled, and all of a sudden, you are filled with resentment. And the problem is, it's your fault because you did not put on your own oxygen mask first. Right? Okay, we need to learn how to make it muscle memory to put on our own oxygen mask first. Okay, it is so important to do that. And we're going to get to things on how to do it, right? But I want to remind you, if we are not putting on our own oxygen mask first, we are going to get others hurt in the process. All right? You might be wondering how, but here is a good point. All right, you got a big ask for your boss the next day, right? So you have a plan. You're going to go to bed early, and then all of a sudden, your friend calls, and she's having relationship issues, right? So you decide, I can give her time because you love this person. You want to help. Well, the next thing you know, 2 hours have passed. You're exhausted. You go to bed. You wake up late. Now you're off schedule. You're totally off schedule. You find yourself rushing out the door. You want to get to the donut shop because you like to butter up the boss. You want to get some good donuts. Well, you're cruising down the highway or the freeway, and the car in front of you stops abruptly. You crash into the back of them, which causes them to now crash into the back of somebody else. Whose fault is that? Okay? It's not your boss. It's not the person in front of you. It's not even your friend's fault. It's yours because you did not put on your own oxygen mask first. Now, accidents, they do happen. They happen all the time. We know this. But you need to be able to determine when a problem happens, if it's a you problem, a them problem, or an actual problem. And we'll get more into that. But the fact is, other people can get hurt. And here's a good case in point where I had to put on my own oxygen mask first. A couple weeks ago, my mom got rushed to the hospital. And the worst part about it was she was on vacation. So I couldn't get to her. And I was like, what am I going to do? So I spent the whole night until 6 in the morning trying to figure out if I had to fly down there, like all of this stuff. And 9 o'clock in the morning, my niece calls me and says, I missed the bus to school. All right, school is a priority. We all know this. But I told her, I said, look, I'll take you, but I need 20 minutes. All right? 20 minutes is what I needed to get myself prepared. Because she already messed up her priorities. She missed the bus. I can't fix that. But what I can do is take care of myself in that moment. All right? So I did what I did. Got up, took her to school. All right, then I learned you have to set boundaries. Okay? And you're going to find boundary pushers. I mean, the people that we love the most are going to be our biggest boundary pushers. Okay? The problem is they will push you to your limits. So you have to know your limit. Okay? And do not let anyone cross that, because that is where you will pile up all this stress, which will eventually lead to burnout. Okay? So with me giving that 20 minutes, that was totally me saying, I am close to my limit. I am very close to my limit. So a couple days go by, and this is a fun story. Not really, but my mom, she was in perfect condition. She was with the right doctors, they were taking care of her. And all of a sudden, I was like, I need to get, a girls' night or something. Let's go have some wine. Let's go out to dinner. And I really thought that I was decompressing by doing this. Okay? Well, the funny thing is, you can lie to yourself all you want, but when the mind and the body get together and they know what's really happening, it's going to go down. Okay? So the fact of it is that when you have a lack or a surplus of priorities, it will lead to an overflow of stress when you forget to take care of number one. And I totally figured that out because, I went too far. So as I am going out to dinner, all of a sudden I get really itchy. And I was like, this is wild. So I hold off on the wine. I hold off on the food. I said, you know what, I'm going to get it to go. By the time I got back to my house with my friend, I was covered head to toe in stress hives. I did not take care of myself during all of this. Stress will take you out every time. So the most important thing with stress is to remember that it does some pretty bad stuff to us, right? So here are some of the things. I talk about this in my TEDx talk. Whether you're a frazzler or a silent stressor, illnesses are caused by stress that people don't think about every single day. So we got heart failure, which is the number one cause of death to female, right? Then we got mental illness, we got blood disorders, autoimmune diseases. There are so many things that happen just because of stress. So we want to make sure that we are preventing it. And how do we prevent it? By putting our own oxygen mask on first. That's the truth. So how do you stop stressing out so much? We are all victims of doing this. We are fortune tellers. That's what I did with my mom, okay? I was so stressed out that it got to the point when she would call me, I was reaching for the Benadryl before I hung up the phone with her because I was covered in hives again. So I actually had to draw a boundary. And I said, Mom, I love you, but I have to tell you, I can't talk to you for a couple days. I need some time to take care of me. She was in the hospital. She was under the best care possible, but I was not. I had to take care of myself. And the fact was, even though she was out of the woods, I was doing this fortune-telling thing where I was like, when she comes home, oh my gosh, we're going to do this. She's not going to listen to me. She's not going to be doing all of this. We do it all the time, right? So we have to stop being fortune tellers. That way, we will make sure that we are putting on our own oxygen mask first. And again, it has to be muscle memory. So what are the things we can do every day, week, monthly, to make sure that we're taking care of ourselves? All right? So first, we've got to become aware. Remember, is it a you problem, a them problem, or is it an actual problem? When you figure that out, it will help you determine a lot better. Because look at it this way: you ever see somebody on the road that's like total raging, right? They cut you off, and all of a sudden they're yelling at you like you did something wrong, right? That's a them problem. Okay, that person is so stressed out in their life they need to put their oxygen masks on. But if you interact with that, all of a sudden it becomes a you problem, and then it could turn into an actual problem. So you need to become aware of how these things unfold in stress. All right, next, you got to feed yourself. Every single day, feed yourself, mind, body, and soul. So you're going to eat well, you're going to get enough sleep, which I shouldn't be preaching about that. We had lack of sleep on this trip so far. But you got to exercise, nothing too strenuous. I mean, if exercise is not your thing, make sure you just get out, get a little bit of activity in your day. All right? Another thing, learn a new skill. This is so important. You hear people in long marriages, all right? They end up, sacrificing and full of resentment and these different things. And then when you hear the other person's side of the story, they're like, oh, they let themselves go. You've heard that story, right? Well, that's because people stopped feeding themselves, all right? You've got to feed yourself. Learn a new skill, take a course, join a sports league, Also, meditate. Meditate is so important. 4 minutes a day can change your entire health, all right? You don't know how to meditate? There is silent meditation. There is movement meditation. You can look it up. Acupuncture. That's another big one that's going on right now. These pressure points on our body can alleviate so much stress. I mean, there are things. Come see me, because there are things that you can just do with your ear that can limit it. It decreases stress by like 50% in 14 days. So that's pretty cool. Breathing exercises. Most people forget how to breathe. And then a good morning ritual will start your day. However you start your morning, believe it or not, is going to kickstart the rest of your day. So if you're watching the news in the morning, don't do it. It's bad. It's very bad. Make sure you're doing something happy. I take time to say happy birthday to everybody. I go through the birthday list. Start out with some joy. Why not? All right. Then you want to find your voice. That is another thing that you need to do in putting on your own oxygen mask. Finding your voice means that you are drawing boundaries. You are learning how to say no. And more importantly than all of it, positive self-talk. You have to be talking kind to yourself at all times. I mean, I love watching kids. You see kids, they do a terrible cartwheel and they're like, I'm awesome. Yes, you are. Because you know what? You're going to keep on doing it until you get better. So remember that positive self-talk. It will go a long way in your life. All right. And then above all, practice gratitude. I mean, gratitude is the most important thing that we can do for ourselves in putting on our own oxygen masks. Now, real quick, had an aha moment. So I don't know what your faith is, and it does not matter, but mine, it says that God lives within me, right? And all of a sudden, God's a big priority to me. So I'm like, wait, if he lives within me, then why am I giving him a crappy apartment? Why? It's dingy, it's dirty, it's miserable. Why not give him a palace and take care of myself? Aha. So it did. It became a big aha moment for me. But gratitude, you can do it anywhere, anytime. You see somebody, say thank you. You appreciate something. I appreciate that. Thank you. But then also thank yourself. I did something good today. Thank you. Gratitude will take you a really long way in this life. So, all right, I know you want to help people. That's like what we were put on this earth to do. I love helping people. I love talking about stress and helping people overcome it because it's a huge epidemic going on in the world today. But, if you do these simple things, you're going to start to prevent some of that stress from happening. I mean, it's a big deal to do that. So remember, if you have the time, put that on every morning. It'll start becoming a muscle memory. And as you breathe in, it'll be a whole lot easier to help others. You will become less selfish. Self-care is not selfish. When you don't take care of yourself, that is when people start getting selfish, right? So breathe in. Put your own oxygen mask on. It's good for you. And remember, that will help you in your path of becoming unstoppable. All right? Thank you.